Hit the shower. Grab your coffee. And get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? I'm Charlie Uczen. Got my guy Jack Pembroke on the other side of the glass there. And this is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And we are also presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. I know I asked, how are we doing? But Brewers fans, really, how are we doing? That was a rough NLCS, Jack.
Just glad to be invited.
That's where you're at?
Yeah,
that's where you're at with
that's
this?
where I'm at already. I've already moved on to how abysmal a trash fire, floating carcass the Badger football team is.
Right.
And, I'm already looking forward to Badger basketball.
You're not excited for Badger football to take on Ohio State today?
So Mitch, I'm sitting there with Mason Crosby. Great guy, great atmosphere. Molly Crosby, fun person.
Of course.
Mitch Thunder Nellis being Mitch Thunder Nellis at Verizon yesterday.
Yep.
Basically WWE style.
Of course.
And I'm talking to him. We're just shooting the breeze. What do you think the score is going to be, Jack? I said 60-3. I looked them dead in the face, not even thinking.
It's not even crazy.
I said 60-3.
Not surprised by that prediction.
They were mad at me. They were mad at me because I said I didn't believe we could score a touchdown. I said, do you think Ohio State's not going to run it up on us?
I didn't see him score a touchdown against Iowa.
Oh my gosh.
Are you kidding me?
It's going to look like JV Sister of the Blind and I don't know, inept out there against all world monsters from Space Jam 1, the original, not that BS that LeBron made.
All right, now that we got the depression out of the way with the Wisconsin
We're done.
Badgers,
I've released the demons. I've released
it
the
for
demons.
them right now. Let's head back into the Milwaukee Brewers. We're very Milwaukee Brewers here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend today, as the season did end last night at the hands of basically Shohei Ohtani, single-handedly.
Charlie.
3 home runs, pitches a gem for the team. I mean, it was like you were going up against the second coming.
I was watching with some Cubs fans. Shout out John from Madison. He'll probably be on YouTube later today in the dugout. Please comment. It kind of felt after the first home run, I was like, yeah, he's probably going to hit another home run, and there's no way we're touching anything he puts across the plate.
And I said it on Wisconsin Sports Daily here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network during the week from 2 to 5 with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. I said it before game 3 that I feel like Shohei Ohtani was due for a big game, and I was calling it in that game, and he led off that game with that single that resulted in the RBI double for Mookie Betts. It didn't really happen. I was like, all right, well, that tells me he's starting to at least see the ball a little bit better, and boy, did he start seeing the ball a little bit better. It was just too much for the Milwaukee Brewers in a series like this. A lot of people have been talking about how bad the Bats played throughout the 4 games of this series. I would argue that the Dodgers were just playing the most clean style baseball possible. I mean, they weren't scoring a lot of runs either. Their offense wasn't exactly ignited until this game from Shohei Ohtani. But at the same time, they didn't make mistakes. Their pitching was some of the best pitching I have ever seen in my entire life watching baseball. Like, it was that phenomenal throughout the course of that series. You have Blake Snell going 8 innings in the first game, Yamamoto going 9 innings in the second game of the series. You see guys like Tyler Glasnow and Shohei Ohtani, who usually aren't long pitchers. They don't go out there for a long time. Both of them go 6 innings. Like, these are situations where it's just, you feel so outmatched if you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan. Jack, I know a lot of people have been giving their feelings about what's happened in this series because they felt like they just never really had a chance against the Los Angeles Dodgers, or they feel like the Brewers just kind of went out there and crapped the bed a little bit. How are you feeling about this? Are you more mad at the Brewers or more just disappointed with the state of the league right now, where it's kind of the Dodgers? This felt like a long time coming, the entire playoffs.
To me, it was a tale of two things. The Brewers were built to survive a 162 game season, they're just not built to compete in a 7-game series with that type of pitching, that type of hitting. And look, you can get mad at me, viewers, listeners can get mad at me for saying that we spend a percentage of what they spend. And so I'm okay with, I like to look with silver linings here. We've got great young players under contract for the foreseeable future. We've got great coaching. To me, at this point, I've moved on to the next season, and I'm like, well, okay, well, maybe we'll get farther next year. They felt inevitable.
I think so. I think that is a very good way to put it, that the Dodgers felt inevitable. With the Brewers today, we're not going to really lax on this sadness. Sorry,
I'm Mr. Mudville over here.
It's fine.
Sorry.
Everybody's very Mr. Mudville right now, Jack. I get it. It's a season that felt so magical up until these past 4 games. Really, throughout the NLDS, from the game 1 through the NLDS, it just felt like this was the season. And then all of a sudden, 4 games, it just felt like they had no chance out of nowhere.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Were you more impressed with Shohei? Or there we go. That's perfect. Were you more impressed with Shohei's performance or the lack of performance by the Brewers?
I think I was more surprised with the lack of performance from the Milwaukee Brewers. I know that pitching staff is phenomenal from the Los Angeles Dodgers. I also know it was not the same pitching staff that the Milwaukee Brewers saw throughout the first 6 games of the season when they swept the Los Angeles Dodgers in the regular season. So I think that from Shohei's perspective, that game was one of the most just dominant games I've seen from a single player in the playoffs. I mean, he won the NLCS MVP strictly off of one performance. The first 3 games of that series, he did nothing. He was like completely just gone, lost from that lineup. And now all of a sudden he hits 3 home runs and pitches a gem on that side of things. And like, he wins the award because there's just like,
only took him 3 home runs.
You could have given it to like anybody. It felt like in that Dodgers pitching staff. You could have said Blake Snell gets. You could have said Yamamoto gets it for pitching 9 innings. He pitches a complete game in the playoffs. Who is doing that in baseball?
That was my MVP on the Dodgers. Yamamoto was really impressive to me too. It always felt like, okay, even if you withstood the best from whatever starting pitcher they had out there on the mound, they just sub in another guy and bring in another amazing old world pitcher. And it's just like, you couldn't win.
Exactly. And it just felt, again, like you were always going to be a step behind in that situation, which is how I think like the Cubs felt the entire regular season with the Milwaukee Brewers. Like, you were always trying to compete. You were always one of the better teams in baseball. Just too bad the Brewers were ahead of you throughout the majority of that season. If you guys want to get in, talk about the Brewers Game 4 loss in the NLCS last night, hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250-1250 to hop in here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. We are asking you, and Jack, I want to start with you on this one as well. With the Brewers season ending in the NLCS, was this the best 2025 season for a Wisconsin sports team? And also, follow that up after you answer that first question. Do you think any 2026 Wisconsin sports season will be able to outdo this one? So when I'm talking about sports seasons, I'm talking about the Packers this past season, the Bucks this past season, losing in the first round to the Pacers, the Wisconsin Badgers, and the Marquette Golden Eagles basketball teams. Jack, was this by far the most impressive, the most fun to watch for you?
I mean, this is one of the best summers I've ever had as a Brewers fan. And that's the only thing I can cling to right now to kind of bring me from the depths of depression. It was like a slow car crash, this series. So you kind of just knew, okay, we're totaling the vehicle. But if you look at the overall season, man, the way it started out to the way we consistently, did you think we'd have chances to not once get free burgers at George Webb's, but twice? You have to win 12 games in a row.
Did not think that was going to happen at all.
Gosh, I wish I knew that. We would have gone to Pato.
Right? Exactly.
But anyways, I think you've got to live in that moment that, hey, this season started out as a dumpster fire, and we were able to do magical things as a team. We were able to take pieces that, it was kind of like those, we got Thanksgiving coming up, we've got Christmas coming up. It's those claymation movies. It reminded me of like the island of misfit toys with some of the guys we brought in, like Andrew Vaughn, and, oh, this isn't working here. This guy's broken. He was a first rounder, and we were able to redevelop people. And that's kind of how I'm clinging to hope that Murphy will still be able to do that. We're young. We've got great pitching, got guys under contract. That's where I have to live right now. I think this is one of the most amazing summers you and I could have hoped for. And so I'm proud of the Brewers for that. I'm proud of the city. We're intense fans, and we got over the first hump. I think that's what you can take out as like a silver lining to a big, heavy thunderstorm cloud is the Brewers were able to get over the Chicago Cubs in the first round. We were able to get over that little monster on your back, and we were able to win against people that are usually our big brother. They joke that this is Wrigley North, not AmFam Field. And luckily you are a fan of both teams. So I feel for you in that first series. It was probably pretty tough.
Yeah, you guys get to come sit on the couch with us now. That's
fine. I know. Let's go fishing, right?
Exactly.
Do I think a 2026 team can do better? Yes. So let's do some way too early Warlock
all right,
way in the future picks. Packers will win 11 or 12 games.
Okay.
I think that's pretty easy now, because now that with the extra added game, it's really 9 or 10 you're winning. But I digress. They'll probably get a second or first seed in the NFC. If that happens, I think, I don't want to predict further than that, but I like where we're going with that season. I'm really intrigued. I think a dark horse again, 2 years running now as an elite sport in the state, Badger men's basketball.
Mm-hmm. Starting the season at number 25.
I love
Their
that
first
we're
time
hovering.
starting in the top 25 rankings since 2020.
I love that they don't. The people we put on this team, a guy you went to high school
Andrew
with
Rohde.
from Virginia. Yep. We've got great depth, great shooting off the bench, great shooting on our starting. We've got, I think, more physical, more height. We've gotten bigger, I think. And we were able to retain guys that, were flirting with, hey, am I going to be a second rounder in the NBA draft, or should I go back to school and, work on my craft? Which I think we have from starting 5 to about 7 or 8 players. We've got a really good new transfer guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to maybe finish top 2 in the Big Ten. That's my prediction. Way too early. We haven't seen him play, but I think we're under the radar. I think Greg Gard is one of the best at just putting it together when no one thinks he's got a chance. Wish he could teach Luke Fickell that secret.
Right, exactly.
But, Luke Fickell probably won't be with us after this season.
Oh, that's how it's looking right now. He may not make it before the end of the season here.
And then I really am intrigued and hopeful with when we think about the moving pieces on this Bucks team. I really think people are really kind of dumbing down how good Miles Turner can be for this team, what he can do for the players around him. I really think he pulls people apart. He's going to give you rebounding. He's going to give you a physical dribbler of the basketball who can attack the lane and pull up and shoot on you. And I think that's going to open things up for Giannis to drive, and which is kind of something you and I both missed last year in the playoffs.
Definitely.
So the future's bright for 2026. Do I think we have some surprises up ahead? Sure. I think Badger men's basketball intrigues me the most. The Packers, I think right now, how they've played, you expect them to go deep in the playoffs.
I get it. And I think that with this season, on my side of things over here, if you want to get in on this question, was the Milwaukee Brewers 2025 season the best in all of Wisconsin sports this past year? And do you think their 2020 or 2025 season will be better than any season that's coming up in the 2026 year for any of our Wisconsin sports teams, the Packers, the Bucks, Wisconsin Badgers, both basketball, football, Marquette Golden Eagle basketball? We want to know where you would put this season this past year and where you expect it to be compared to the seasons coming up next year. I think that this year, this is by far the best season that we saw. And I know the Packers were really entertaining at points too. They just really floundered at the end of the year. I think if you look at this past season for the Green Bay Packers and compared to this Milwaukee Brewers season that we just saw end, they kind of had very similar rides going on there. You saw the Packers early on in the season deal with the Jordan Love injuries, but also still play through it and be able to win games without Jordan Love and be able to kind of look like that powerhouse team that I think a lot of people expected from a Matt LaFleur offense in its year 2 form here. And then at the end of the season, you just saw them kind of fall off a little bit and saw them kind of even out with a lot of teams later on in the year, especially in the NFC North, where it just felt like it was so frustrating to watch them play. And I think the Brewers, if you watched them against the NL Central this year, especially at the end of the year, you saw them kind of flounder a little bit until it got to the playoffs with the Cubs. I mean, they didn't have a great series or season series record against the Cubs. The Reds were giving them trouble at the end of the year. The Cardinals were giving them trouble at the end of the year.
There was a concern level at performance because it wasn't feeling like the same juice we had the month before.
The month before, and then you saw it in the playoffs. And I think with the Packers, what you saw in the playoffs was them get tired a little bit, have to go up against a team that was just better built for the playoffs than they were in the Philadelphia Eagles. And then you saw it with the Milwaukee Brewers as you saw them just get tired and fall against a team that also just was better built for the playoffs in the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that's really frustrating to see that kind of journey happen twice. With the Milwaukee Bucks, that just kind of felt like a second chance last year to kind of prove that Damian Lillard fit on this team. And then just guys could not stay healthy on that court, and it resulted in a first-round exit to a team that would eventually go to the NBA Finals in the Indiana Pacers. And that Pacers team was a lot of fun and played a really kind of more modern style of basketball that we're starting to see kind of take control of the league now with the Oklahoma City Thunder playing that style.
I call it Euro hardwood soccer.
Exactly. That's exactly how it feels like. And the Pacers were really good at it. They figured it out really well.
The movement, they get up and down, they fill the lanes, they pass. People aren't obsessed with the basketball.
Everybody is always an option for that team. So I think those are things that you have to look at with those two squads and say, you know what? There's promise there. With this Bucks team, yes, they moved on from Damian Lillard, but it does look like a team that's better fit for Giannis. And that was something that I complained about all last year, is that they felt like they had two different teams any given time that Giannis and Dame were on the court together. It was like if Dame had the ball in his hands, everybody plays Damian Lillard style basketball. If Giannis has his ball in the hands, everybody plays Giannis style basketball. And when you don't have a lot of talent around those two guys, or kind of a younger talent that hasn't really played that much with both those guys, it's going to get confusing for them. It's going to mess up your flow. This year, you have everything just centered around Giannis, which I think is really going to help the Bucks out.
I'm going to congratulate you on noticing that, because as someone who played a high level of basketball, in high school and AAU, it was annoying. You didn't want to believe what you were seeing. And I was seeing two different offenses depending on which iteration of the team was out there. And it was annoying to me because it's like, oh my God, we don't have an identity on offense.
And a lot of times it would just leave guys standing around doing nothing. I think later on in the season, when you had that period where Giannis missed a little bit of time, it was just Damian Lillard. You saw guys just mold around Damian Lillard's style, and it won them basketball games. When Dame was out, you saw people mold around Giannis's style, and it won them basketball games.
But the ball moved differently with both of them.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like bringing in, let's use a metaphor for another sport, in football, bringing in a different quarterback, whether it's high school or college, where you have a 2-quarterback system. One guy might be more of an athlete runner. The other guy might be a pocket passer. And it just looked starkly different. And you could tell it was stagnant in the playoffs because you couldn't do either or. You're kind of an amoeba of both. And it really was painful to watch. And it was more painful to watch as we haven't heard from our Indiana friends in a while, Larry and crew. But it was painful to watch the Pacers move the ball effortlessly against us and be able to fill 15 to 18 foot shots in movement and hit in stride. And we looked like we were JV tryouts against them.
Yeah. So with the Milwaukee Bucks, I think I do have a lot of hope for them in this upcoming season, more than people are giving them credit for. I've seen a lot of the power rankings or their expected season finish, and it's like the Bucks are finishing 6th. I don't think the East is that strong. You have a lot of players that are going to be
third
injured.
At worst.
I think there's a shot that as long as they stay healthy, they can be a really good team. Yeah. I also feel like this Brewers team next year and this Brewers team this year still are probably going to outdo what the Bucks can do. I don't think the Packers are going to have as big of a chance to go as far as everybody thinks. I know the NFC is so much more wide open too.
This
NFL,
guy's sipping haterade over here.
it just feels like at some point here, and you're already seeing it happen a little bit with this Packers team, is the injuries and the fatigue.
You're right about that. I'm worried about.
They don't have the depth at their offensive line.
Yeah.
They don't have the depth in their cornerback room. They don't have the depth at that defensive tackle position, as you're seeing right now without a Devontae Wyatt on the field.
I was just gonna say that's who I'm worried about not showing up this week, because that
gets me a little.
That scares me.
That gets me a little bit worried for a team like that. So I don't know if this season I'm really all in on the Packers right now.
So here's my. Before we cut to break, here's my theory. They know we are going to steamroll, dog walk, whatever you want to say, the Arizona Cardinals. And they're like, hey, we get an extra bye week for basically Devon Wyatt to get healthy. And we want him to be able to rush the quarterback next week against some guy in Pittsburgh.
That could be
my
potential.
Theory. That's
that
my
could be
theory.
potential. So we will see. But I think this year for the Milwaukee Brewers, this season, yes, was the best in 2025, but no, I don't think it's going to be the best in 2026. I think I see guys like Jesus Mate. I know everybody keeps saying by September. I think he comes up before September. I think if this offense looks like what we saw in the playoffs, if you see Joey Ortiz look like one of the kind of just technically the worst offensive player in baseball sometimes.
They look bad.
And there was times where it was really frustrating where he just didn't take that next step that you saw in his rookie season. You're going to see a lot of young players start to get chances. You're going to see guys like Christian Yelich get held to a more critical standard than I think he was held to this season, especially in the playoffs. That was something Sparky and I talked about in Wisconsin Sports Daily yesterday as well. Whether or not Christian Yelich is a playoff liability and what that means for the future with this team. And right now, it doesn't feel like he was helping them out all that much. So I think this is, Nick over here on YouTube. If you want to be like Nick, you can hit us up at the Wisconsin's or WI Sports Radio on YouTube.
Makes opening day roster, baby.
I
Love the prediction.
I don't think Mate makes the opening day roster, Nick. I'm sorry, but I think he ends up on this team within 3 months. He still has to get through AAA. He only got up to AA. He played really well at AA level, but I think there's a world where he still needs to get through AAA, pay his dues, basically is what they say. You can bump him up from AA to the majors. It's not that it's never been seen before, but at the same time, he needs a little bit more time. So he's a little more refined. He's still only 18 years old. That's insane.
He's a young buck.
It's so weird to me to think that I am going to be 24 here pretty soon.
Yeah, makes you feel old.
Right.
Jeez.
And there's guys that are in their teens coming and playing in Major League Baseball, man.
So,
it's crazy.
Quick joke. My aunt, who's from Ireland, would used to sit next to me and Paul, who is a guy down at Apollo Cafe, get some good food. And she'd say, why are you guys out there? These guys are your age. Why aren't you making 30 million a year? And it's just like, yeah, please rub it in.
I wish
I was 6'8" and just dunking with one hand with elbow in the rim. Thanks, Aunt Mary.
But with this segment, my parting gift to you guys is these grateful words. Wait for 2026. It's going to be so much fun, Brewers fans. I'm telling you, the guys that we saw ball out in the playoffs, the Jackson Churios, the Jacob Mizorowskis, they are going to continue to ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Mizorowski is an ace. Nobody can tell me otherwise. He is that good of a pitcher.
The Whiz Miz.
Jackson Churio is a star, and you saw him step up in the biggest moments in the playoffs this year when really it felt like nobody else was stepping up in those moments. Bryce Terang each year looks like a new, different player. I think you're going to get guys like Jesus Mate. You're going to still have William Contreras for at least one more year, and he loves Milwaukee, man. You are going to be hard-pressed to find somebody else that loves the Milwaukee Brewers as much as William Contreras does. Even if he is going to be gone in a few years, he's going to play his heart out for this team right now. Nick puts it in the chat again on YouTube. Do you think we'll see Cuero early in 2026? Potentially, and that's a guy who's a stud, who is going to go out there and be a great backup catcher for this team and be the future catcher for this team. Man, the future is so bright. Logan Henderson's going to come back from injury, a starting pitcher in his few starts for the Milwaukee Brewers as a rookie this year. It's going to be awesome. And you guys, you have to understand that this season, yes, it ended in disappointment to a team that I don't think
the future is so bright.
Exactly. I don't think anybody thought the Los Angeles Dodgers were really going to lose in the playoffs this year. They just look insane. They're built for the playoffs. The Brewers were not going to beat them.
We gave them good games. There was 3-1 win. We were able to be in games with them.
Yes. And I think that next year you'll be more than just in games. You're going to be competitive and you're going to be a World Series contender. You were this year. It's going to be even better next season. So just stay tuned for that, people.
Hallelujah.
It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, over there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, Jack mentioned it a little bit earlier. We're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals playing the Green Bay Packers in Arizona this weekend, and whether or not this game could potentially be a trap game after we saw what was a trap game in Cleveland the last time around when they had an important matchup versus Dallas. We will be right back here with Wisconsin Sports Weekend. Ooh, okay, Jack.
Best
Never-
car driver in the business, baby. Did you sit in there?
Yeah, never do that again.
No, okay.
Never.
No.
This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I am Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there. And we are brought to you by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor on historic Brady Street. Thank you so much to Apollo Cafe. Got wonderful food over there, a great view of historic downtown. It's really an awesome place. Go check them out. Go get yourself a legendary Zeus burger.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, I think I like doing it too. I think I just kind of say it sometimes randomly too. It's a lot of fun. We are, like I said, Wisconsin Sports Weekend. And if you guys are just tuning in, you missed us discuss the Milwaukee Brewers' loss last night at the hands of the Los Angeles Dodgers, more specifically at the hands of Shohei Ohtani. It felt like for a majority of that game. And their season is now over after advancing all the way to the NLCS. They got the NLDS win over the Cubs, which felt like a huge victory for this team, but you wanted to see them go a little farther, and we just couldn't get it done. We're going to take a little break from the Brewers, but don't worry, we'll hop right back into them for the next couple of segments here. But I wanted to dive into the Green Bay Packers matchup versus the Arizona Cardinals this weekend in Arizona. It is going to be one where Kyler Murray is questionable for the Cardinals, but it looks like they should be healthy almost everywhere else on that team. Marvin Harrison Jr. is out of concussion protocol. Looks like he'll be healthy for this game. But the Green Bay Packers are still going to be the favorites in a matchup like this, where the Cardinals have not been able to finish games this season. They get really close. They've lost a lot of games in just really brutal fashion lately. A lot of games that are ending in 2-1 score losses, 5 straight losses for this team. They're going to be coming up against this Green Bay Packers team with a vengeance. What I wanted to ask you folks, with Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers facing off against the Packers next week in Pittsburgh, it should be a great match. And I know everybody's begging for them to bring the game to Green Bay. Can't just do that. Like, that's not something they can just do. They plan these games like 3 to 4 years in advance. Doesn't really make sense. You can't really just change all that logistics. It's weird about it, but it's going to be happening in Pittsburgh. I know people are mad about it. Whatever. Get over it. You can watch it on TV. But with that game coming up, and I know there's not a lot of players on this Green Bay Packers team that got to play with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. You have Jordan Love, but outside of Jordan Love, it's not too many guys that had that experience of playing with him. Do you feel like this Arizona Cardinals team, a team that's coming out with a little bit of vengeance here, or kind of a little bit of an anger underneath them, do you think this game can be a trap game for the Green Bay Packers, just like Cleveland was before the Packers took on Dallas and Micah Parsons returned to Dallas in that game, where both those games ended up being a huge disappointments for the Green Bay Packers? Do you feel like, Jack, let's start over there with you, and you guys can join us on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250 to get on the show here. Or you can be like our friend Nick over in the YouTube dugout chat on WI Sports Radio. Again, that's at WI Sports Radio. He comments on there, says, last I saw the over-under was 44.5 for the Packers game. Do we have to take the under on that? That's a really tough one. I don't think so. Yesterday, when I made my predictions for this game, I have a feeling like the Arizona Cardinals are going to be able to come out here and make a little bit of noise. Again, I think they're going to be creative. I think they're going to have a game plan for this Packers defense because they just really want a competitive game. They want to win against a quality opponent here. So I put out the score prediction of 31-24 in that game. So that's way above that. I'm going with the over in this one. But I think the smart decision probably is to go with the under. I think a lot of these games this season, just across the NFL, we've seen teams go with the under, or games end up with the under in a lot of these situations. The offenses just aren't playing at that same high volatile type of level of play. And I think that's something that is probably going to persist in a game like this, with Arizona's offense, again, potentially being without their starting quarterback is a little bit of a struggle. So yeah, I think you probably go with the under, but if you're me and you're crazy, I'm going with the over. Jack, again, I wanted to ask you, do you feel like this is a trap game potentially for the Green Bay Packers again?
So this is why I don't think it'll be potentially a trap game. The first 2 games, the media had said, oh my gosh, this team's epic. They've done all the right things. They've done all the right moves. Look how efficient Jordan Love, and he was very efficient in the pocket. But like you've alluded to earlier in other segments, The offensive line is not that same offensive line. The defensive line is not that same defensive line. I think we are going into that Cleveland game looking ahead already, saying, guys, it's the Cleveland Browns. It's Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's practically out there with the shillelagh holding himself up so he can throw. This is the Browns. We're going to be able to,
Which also, Joe Flacco looked pretty good on Thursday Night Football, baby.
As someone who has Chase Brown on their bench, just to see Chase Brown get above 13 points in fantasy, I was like, oh my God, is Joe Flacco actually going to turn players back into he's like a fairy godmother. He's just got to rub a little Epsom salt on his old arm there. And he too can make your team playoff bound. I just think we're mentally wise. This team is a little bit smarter than they were week 3. And I think, look, yeah, sure, because you play down again to another team. But I think if Matt LaFleur is a good coach, you do not allow that to happen. You don't go into Arizona. Another reason why I feel confident in Arizona is, what do we know? Green Bay, Milwaukee Brewer fans, Wisconsin fans travel really well to Arizona because you have an aunt, uncle, or someone who's moved away from the winter here to get to Arizona, New Mexico, California, or Texas, somewhere down there. You're going to know someone down in Phoenix. I bet you we hear Go Pack Go chants more than we hear any type of rise up Red Sea. I feel like this team knows what it has to do to go get a win there. And I feel like this defense is kind of licking their chops. That they don't care if it's Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray. I hope it's Baby Yoda, because I just think you can collapse that pocket on him much quicker. If you're wondering why I'm calling a player Baby Yoda, he does a celly in the end zone. He does a celebration. So he's brought it upon himself. It has nothing to do with him maybe being 5'8", but I digress. I'm more worried about Jacoby Brissett playing. I think he's an efficient passer. And like you said, with Joe Flacco, people were kind of overlooking him. I'm more concerned if Jacoby Brissett plays, that it's a closer game. I think we only lose. We only win by about 8 to 10 points if he's in the game. I think we're going to be able to run the ball against them, and they're not a well-coached team.
It just doesn't seem – well, okay. I wouldn't say they're not a well-coached team. I think there are just moments where players on that field just have lapses for some reason for the Arizona Cardinals.
Fair enough.
It feels like that they have game plans that just for some reason cannot be executed to their full potential sometimes. And I can see it and hear it in the way Jonathan Gannon talks, the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He just seems so frustrated with the course of the season. And again, it feels like he's going in with game plans that may not be well thought out for the players and for the team that you have on the field. They may be good game plans overall, but for the players on the field, they are not reacting well enough to these plans. They are not playing with 100% effort for some reason. You have to try to figure that out as the head coach. So while it is a mix of both the players and the head coach not really running their game plan, I think right now what we're seeing is a team that, like the Arizona Cardinals, is very talented. They have a very young, very talented roster that I think can make some teams scared if they are playing at the top of their game, but they have to be playing at the top of their game, which means that the coaching staff has to be on the top of their game as well, and they have to be able to mix that together. Going back to the Green Bay Packers, though, and talking about coaching staffs right now, you had said that if Matt LaFleur is a good head coach, he'll go into this game and have a good game plan for the Packers and be able to adjust at halftime and not play down to his opponents like we've seen him do with this Green Bay Packers team this season, last season. It feels like a common occurrence that this Packers team likes to play close games with teams that they probably shouldn't be as close with. Do you feel like, and this may be a little controversial for some people, do you feel like Matt LaFleur is a head coach or a good head coach, Jack? Like, just in your personal opinion.
So I think, and people who know me know that I don't hide my fandom on this show or my critiques. Like, it's not like I'm going to run. I interned for Bart Winkler. So I'm from the Jedi school of Bart Winkler in terms of, if I think you're playing bad or your decision-making is bad, I'm going to say it. That's the truth. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I'm not going to blindly follow someone who I think sometimes is making mistakes. I think he's a really efficient coach. I think he's got, for the pieces we have, I think he really does understand how to use them and execute them. I see consistent issues with special teams play. I see consistent issues with calling timeouts that we had issues with Aaron Rodgers in the red zone where you let the clock dwindle down and you got 2 yards to either get a first down or get it into the end zone. I still see the same issues there. I think sometimes he gets out coached in second halves. And that's why you see, everyone's worried about the defense giving up stuff in the second half. I think he gets out coached sometimes in the second half. If I'm giving him an overall grade, I think 86, 87. I think he's a solid high B, low end B plus, gentleman's B plus. You show up to class, you work hard. You're not a horrible person to work with.
But that's got to make him like, yeah, it's a B plus, but a top 7 coach in the NFL then, right?
I'd say top 10. He's a top 10.
Okay, I guess I can see that.
I don't think he's that close to 5. I'm saying he's maybe 9 or 10.
All right. So if a guy is sitting at like 9 to 10, in a game like this, if you play down to the Arizona Cardinals level once again, and they're a team that just, again, doesn't feel like they've been able to connect the dots. They have a good roster. They have a coaching staff that I think does know what they're doing. It's just not
good young players.
Not with the roster that he's working with. He knows what he's doing. I think he is a good coach, but just doesn't have the right personnel for what he's trying to run right now. If you look at that roster and that team, and the Packers play down to that roster and that team, despite them having potential on that roster and team, what do you think that does for the perception of Matt LaFleur overall to Packers fans? Because right now throughout the season, after what we saw in Cleveland, after what we saw in Dallas, some of the press conferences he's had this year in regards to injuries of this team, of Zach Tom, of Devontae Wyatt, where he's just very vague, and you see guys go out there and they start getting injured a little bit more, and people are starting to get frustrated with this coaching staff and Matt LaFleur specifically.
No, Christian Watson's dad is just letting it loose on Twitter, man.
How many more weeks can the Packers play down to people's level until it becomes too much to the point where people are going to start calling for Matt LaFleur's job or something like that, Jack?
You're first place in the NFC North.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he was in third or fourth,
you're first place in the NFC North. But also, like, I get that this team is first place. They don't look like the overall first place team, though.
They look like second place.
People are still giving Lions more credit. People seem to be hyping up the Bears more. I think that's more because they're surprising now.
Yeah, they're exciting.
I won't say that's too much, but the Vikings still look okay, even though JJ McCarthy has been hurt and played really bad for 1.5 of the games that he did play in. But I don't want to, I guess, push the Packers down a rung, but also you have to look at the state of the rest of this league and that their record and what we've seen them do right now. I think in a year where there have been teams that are juggernauts, teams like the Eagles, where they just look like they're unbeatable for a majority of that season, this Packers team doesn't even sniff that, in my opinion, right now. So yeah, you can say they're first in the NFC North, but what we're seeing on the field right now doesn't exactly feel like that.
It feels like a tale of two cities sometimes, or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, in terms of how those first 2 games went. And then to me, it almost feels like we gave up 2 losses because you literally had by the neck scruff a win that you went, start of the shotgun to the end bell, dominating a Browns team. And then you just, we can get into calls and the refs not placing the spike down, which I think, that's technically the rules. You would have had to do that and it would have taken the extra second, and we can get into that. But 2 weeks in a row, they left it up to the referees, and they left a gaping wide open hole in terms of special teams and defense to let people step back in and steal a win. And you can't do that against Dak Prescott, looking really good as a quarterback, but that is not a great Dallas Cowboys team. That's a team, those 2 weeks, you're supposed to go in and take care of business.
Dallas defense is single-handedly going to sink that team.
That's why I still laugh when they said they traded Micah to get better on the run D, and their run D is like, what, 27th, 28th?
But also, I think with Dallas and even with Cleveland, you were playing on the opposite side of the ball, 2 of the best units in all football. That's how close the league is right now, where the Cleveland Browns defense can single-handedly stop the Green Bay Packers on their own if given the right game, the right situation, the right opportunity. The Packers give them that opportunity. The Dallas Cowboys offense on their own can beat the Packers team
Yeah.
if you give them the right opportunity and the right motivation and all these different situations. So yes, this Packers team is good right now. And like Nick puts in the YouTube chat, let's be honest, they're only in first because they tied with Dallas. Yeah.
That's what I was getting to in a long-winded way.
If they lost that game, which there's many opportunities for them to lose that game, they're in the same boat as everybody else in the NFC North right now.
To me, you can't allow this to be a trap game.
No.
The Packers, if you
I think you have to go out and dominate.
You have to go out and you have to put up you have to boat race them to in the first half be up 17 points to where Arizona Cardinal fans are leaving the stadium because they're just like, I can't sit here and watch this. The defense has got to be able, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray or, the ghost of Elvis out there at quarterback, they've got to be able to collapse the pocket on third down. And I want to see turnovers. We've looked very good and efficient as a defense in the first half, but we haven't generated turnovers. I know Mason was getting in on it on his show this week, and that's what was a big worry for him. And I was just listening and be like, yeah, Mason Crosby is hitting the head on the nail right here. It scares me that we bend, don't break. And then in the second half, when obviously fantasy points and betting seems, your defense is going to give them the cover 3 drop back and just let you dump for 5-10 yards. And that's good and all, but I want to see us more sacks. I want to see us, create a fumble. The one positive to me is
we got to get to a break here, Jack.
Oh, sorry.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
we got
good.
One more segment still to get to here. We got to discuss Milwaukee Brewers and what we think their team awards are. Here it is, Wisconsin Sports Weekend. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Again, we are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, and we will be right back. How we doing, folks? How we doing? Like the big voice lady just said, it is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I am Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke over there. We are also presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. We do have a little bit of a short segment here. We do got to get out coming up here at the 55. But we did want to dive into Milwaukee's season team awards. We're going to talk about that next when we come back. Who you have at MVP for this Milwaukee Brewers team for the season, who you had at Cy Young, who's your rookie of the year, who's your comeback player of the year, if there is one for you. We can talk about some of the Gold Glovers, guys that you think deserve more love at that. If you guys saw the Gold Glove list this past week, you had guys like Bryce Terang back into the running for that. Sal Frelick is back in the running. No Blake Perkins, he spent a lot of the season injured. I know he was on that list last season and won the Gold Glove last season, which was pretty awesome for him and the Milwaukee Brewers. It's going to be really cool. I don't think Bryce Terang is a platinum glover again this year, Jack, but that is something that I think you should watch out for. Do you think he's a platinum glover?
I think he could be. I also think Frelick's got to get a Golden Glove after some of the performances he had.
It would be 2 years in a row. I think he deserves a platinum glove more than Bryce Terang at this point.
People don't realize how athletic and how well that guy can jump. He's only about 5'7".
Well, in the playoffs, he made a couple great plays too, sliding catches over on the right field
against
side.
The Cubs and the Dodgers.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch him this season. Yeah, he made that double play, which was just insane. I still think he might have did that on purpose. I tweeted that out on my account at Charlie Uczen. You can follow Jack at You Don't Know Jack on Twitter, or You Don't Know Jack 88, excuse me, on Twitter. And you can follow us, some great tweets from both of us over there. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network here. And we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor on historic Brady Street. We will be right back.
Hit the shower. Grab your coffee. And get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? Like the big voice lady just said, I am Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke. We are Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios and powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We are also presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. This is the second hour of our lovely show here, and if you missed the first hour of it, do not worry. You can rewind back on YouTube at WI Sports Radio and watch us on there. We discussed the Milwaukee Brewers lost to the Los Angeles Dodgers last night, which ended their NLCS run there for the Crew. It was a superstar performance from Shohei Ohtani over there for the Dodgers, and the Brewers could just not keep up, and that was the theme throughout the first 4 games and the only 4 games of that NLCS. It was really quite a disappointing run, but also we were encouraged, Jack. I think that is kind of the biggest way to look at this, the nicest way to look at this. It doesn't feel like last season when they lost in the first round. It doesn't feel like the Milwaukee Bucks losing in the first round to the Indiana Pacers this year. It feels like, darn it, but also I'm excited for what the future holds.
There's something to build on with this team, and I think that's what you have to cling to get to yourself mentally to spring training. Mm-hmm. I love what you were saying about Jesus Mate. I told you at the break that you sing sweet nothings into my ear about the Milwaukee Brewers, and I love that about you and your personality. You're very chipper even when I'm feeling like Mudville and Eeyore over here. You're very Winnie the Pooh, and I appreciate that in you.
Hopefully I don't look like Winnie the Pooh.
No, not at all. You're the gentle giant. Winnie the Pooh is probably like 2 feet and chubby. I just think there's so much to be grateful for. 97 win season. You've got great youth in your AAA and AA teams that will probably play 5-6 seasons for you, hopefully in the big leagues soon, and be very meaningful seasons. I just think they get better. It's one step. The way I look at this is it's like Greek mythology. It's one step closer to the ultimate goal. We've got to push that rock up the hill. And the season before, the rock fell back on us and we looked like crap in the first round. We were able to get over the hump against Big Brother the first round this time around. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll be even more entertaining next season and we'll be able to compete more. I just want us to be competitive against the Dodgers. So that's what I'm hoping.
Right. I think you got past that first round hurdle that they've had for the past few years. You got past the Chicago Cubs, that kind of looming darkness over the Brewers. It felt like for the past few 10 seasons almost. It feels like even when the Cubs weren't that good, it was always the Brewers were right behind them. So even if it was the Cardinals in first or the Reds somehow sneaking into first randomly one year, it just felt like the Brewers were going to be behind whoever it was. And you got past that hurdle too. You beat them in the playoffs. You proved that even though you've won the division, that's still not looming over you because they've won a World Series and because everybody still predicts them each season, no matter how many times the Brewers win the NL Central. They predict the Cubs or they predict the Cardinals. And the Brewers, I think this year put that away. I think for the immediate future, the next 5 years, the Brewers will be the prediction in the beginning of the season to win the NL Central. And if it's the Cubs next year, I think every sports writer on earth is insane because it should be the Milwaukee Brewers, and they've gotten past that. Now you have to get past the juggernaut. And I think that at some point here, because what we saw in this playoff series, if the Dodgers go and win another World Series, you're going to see a strike coming up for Milwaukee or for Major League Baseball. Yeah. And that is
feels
something
that way
that I think will eventually help the Milwaukee Brewers, but it's going to suck because you're going to lose a couple of years there. It's going
to 2 years.
It's going to feel weird to see a Jesus Mate go from 20 to 23, and now all of a sudden he's playing with the Milwaukee Brewers, and just feels like that time accelerated a little bit because we've been hyping him up in his teen years right now. These are things that I think are all going to help the Milwaukee Brewers eventually in the future. The fact that they've gotten past those hurdles and the big changes that are coming to the league. But I do want to circle back to what happened this season with the Milwaukee Brewers and go to that topic that I teased in that last segment there of the first hour, where I want to start awarding the Milwaukee Brewers. You know, they had a amazing season, like Jack pointed out. It was a year of just of fun and excitement, a summer of fun and entertainment, as Mark A wanted to put it. Also, aren't you a little bit annoyed that like it came true, that what he said is exactly what happened?
I hate when really rich people can like sparingly be like, don't talk to me, just enjoy your, enjoy. He's like Nero, he's like a Roman,
And it was right.
It's like, let me throw some
we
cake
had fun
and bread to you peasants and just shut up.
We had fun. We were excited, and then it ended, and that's what he cared about. That's what he told us straight to our faces.
He said,
and we were frustrated with him. And now so many people are just sitting here saying, "Oh wow, that was so fun and exciting. Let's go next year." Like that's kind of frustrating to like be in that mindset, because like it's true. I did have fun. I was excited throughout the regular season, and I'm still really excited for what this team holds in the future. But it's frustrating that he was right, because I don't want him to be right, and I don't want to agree with him that this is what this team is. And yes, I should be happy that this team had such a successful season this year. But the fact that that guy is able to go out there and say that as the owner of this baseball team is so frustrating.
To me, why it frustrates me or hurts me in my sports soul for this state and this country is it's him just kind of admitting like, hey, as long as we're competitive, I really don't care what you think about me or our program. As long as we're going to playoff games, cool. I'm cool with that. And this is coming from, we put this team together. We didn't spend a lot of money. He could spend a little bit more money, and we might be able to get one or two more pieces that would have helped us through a hitting slump against, I don't know, the X-Men or the Guardians of the Galaxy that we ran into in the Dodgers. I just think that I want to hear from an owner about, hey, these are the things I'm trying to do to, and you don't have to say entertaining summer, but these are the things I'm trying to do that as a fan, as an owner, I know you guys want to see us go deeper. You want to see us be way more competitive against markets like a New York, an LA, and you might have to spend just a little bit more. I know for us, that means like 15 to 20 million, but I don't just want to hear like, hey, just enjoy yourselves. I don't care what you think about playoffs performance.
Right. And even though he's right, I did enjoy myself.
Yeah, I had a great summer.
I don't want that to be right sometimes. I want to see this team be able to win championships like I see so many other teams be able to do. And it's just frustrating that it ends in the same fashion that it has ended.
Charlie, it feels like there's a window right now, right? With that there hasn't been a window for the Brewers in my lifetime or your lifetime like this, where it's like, we've got youth where we need youth. We've got great coaching, probably going to win back-to-back coach of the year. We're cemented in our division. We've got great farm league players. I just think that you got to look at that and say, what can our ownership do now to catapult us to the next level? That's what I want to be hearing out of Mark.
Definitely. And Jack, here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor right there in historic Brady Street. We are now going to hand out some awards because we've been teasing it for a while and we got distracted.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that was my fault. I went off topic. But we're going to start with the easy one, the big one. Jack, who is your MVP for the Milwaukee Brewers this season?
So I think a lot of people would say Trang. And I think you have to go with that popular thing. But I'd say like my honorable mention for this award would be Sal Frelick, because I love good gloves. I love a guy who can play defense and run down balls. And he was special this year out in the outfield. So he's my like 1B.
I get where you're coming from with Bryce Terang and Sal Frelick. I think both those guys definitely do bring some value to this squad. I don't know if either one of them are my MVP for the first half of the season from Bryce Terang. I feel like what we saw was kind of same old Bryce Terang, which is still good. It's a very good player. It's a good contact player.
Nick's mad I didn't mention Andrew Vaughn.
Andrew Vaughn would normally be, if he had played a whole season with the Milwaukee Brewers, I think he could be my MVP. I think the way he changed around this team, which is why maybe he'll be a different award for me later on, Nick. Just hold on for a second. All right, my man. MVP, I think it's pretty easy between three guys, I guess. But the one guy I think you got to give it to, and because MVP is a regular season award, Christian Yelich had by far the best regular season. And he had a season where I think you saw him look like what we saw in those flashes of an MVP season. It's all right, Nick. I know you're sorry over there. But we saw Christian Yelich have a season where, again, he looked like that true self that we've seen Christian Yelich be before, and it was throughout the entirety of the season. Now, the reason I struggle a little bit with giving him is because he played DH all season. This is something I predicted before the season just to keep him healthy, keep him on the field, but it worked. There was only a small period of time where he was not playing for this team. The other two guys I have in mind are William Contreras and Freddie Peralta. William Contreras, I think, is kind of having that Bryce Terang effect, though, where just that first half of the season was such a struggle for him. But you saw when he got fired up and when he started playing well in the second half of the season, what it did for the rest of this team was just leaps and bounds above the energy that you've gotten from anybody else, I think, in the past in recent years. Like Willie Adames was huge for this team and the energy of this team. What William Contreras did this year just kind of felt like it ignited the Milwaukee Brewers.
It was on a CC Sabathia level, if you can remember what he gave to this team for that season. They rode him like a rented mule, and they just rode him to wins. He hit a game where he almost threw a perfect game and hit the home run in the ninth to win. So I would say that it was probably parallels that.
Well, and then the last guy I would say is who I mentioned before, Freddie Peralta. And I think Freddie Peralta has a very strong argument to be the MVP of this team. Yes, he didn't go very long into games. Yes, the second half of the season did not really meet up to what we thought we saw in that first half of the season. But he was the most consistent.
He was special.
He was the most consistent Brewer that was already here in the first place. And I think that with Freddie Peralta and him being kind of along with a Christian Yelich, one of the long mainstays of this Brewers franchise, he needed to have that kind of breakout season, and he did that. He did everything to a T and was able to be a guy that, again, like William Contreras, the team was able to feed off of and want to play for. So I think he deserves some love there. Jack, let's go with your Cy Young.
Ooh. I don't know. You go first. All
right. I'll go first. I got two guys in my Cy Young. I won't give Freddie really any Cy Young love because I don't think he, as much as he was an MVP of the team, I don't know if he was the MVP of that pitching staff overall. I think there's a lot of other guys that came out and had seasons that just were more impressive than what Freddie Peralta was doing just because we know what he was able to do. I think Cy Young is more specific to like a player season. So in the chat, Nick puts Quinn Priester as a silent honorable mention.
That's
for
what
MVP.
I was going to say.
Quinn Priester would probably be my Cy Young Award winner here. The other name I would put out there is Abner Uribe. I think Abner Uribe, as a player that not only was a setup man at points of the season, but was able to step up as the closer when Trevor McGill was out for a long period of time there. And he had a breakout season. And that's, again, especially coming off the season he had last year where he gets demoted after acting like a baby on the field, throwing a tantrum. And then getting hurt and ending his season that way just really was a frustrating way to end for him. And because of that, Abner Uribe, I think, is my Cy Young over Quinn Priester.
So I was going to go because I saw what Nick was writing in there, and that's kind of why I wanted to wait. I think I agree with Nick. I think knee-jerk reaction, Quinn Priester would be mine because of just he kind of came out of nowhere. In terms of like me as a general fan, I didn't expect him to do much.
Right.
And so that was interesting, but I hate when you make me change my mind. Juan Uribe is a nice, sorry.
Juan Uribe was a chubby third base.
I know. Yeah. That'd be hard.
He was awesome.
I'm going to go with Abner. Plus I like his glove color.
All right. Fair enough. We got two more here that I want to do. Rookie of the year, Jack. Yeah, guys like Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin, Jacob Mizorowski.
I think you got to go with Miz. You got to go with Miz.
Easy Miz?
How special? Like that in first parts of the season, like things he did that have never been done before.
How stinky was dude.
It was when it was bad, but when it was good, it was great. You know.
I think I get where you're coming from because his highs were so high.
Yes,
and like you see
elite.
You see the potential.
Yeah,
but also it just didn't last long enough.
No.
And you saw people figure him out, and you saw him kind of get into his own head a little bit there at some point.
Definitely.
Isaac Collins is a guy that I think deserves a little bit of love, but his peak was just so short-lived. The beginning of the season, again, was just kind of one where he was on the roster, and you're like, okay, Isaac Collins is here taking up space. He's not going to be here next year. And then he had 2 months where he did look like the rookie of the year, and then 2 months after that where he just was non-existent again. So I think that's somebody that you kind of have to count on as well. Again, I love Nick over here because he's taken all my answers as well. It's Caleb Durbin. I think Caleb Durbin is the rookie of the year for this team. He's the most consistent all here. He was quietly on that field more often than anybody else. It feels like he was out there defensively making plays. Nick puts out there. He's a defensive liability. I don't think he is a stud. I don't think he's a gold glover. I don't think that is a position, third base, that he's going to be playing long term. But I think he definitely played better than a lot of people gave him credit for defensively and offensively. He was out there and was just consistent throughout the season. I think that's something that this Milwaukee Brewers team was looking for this year. Last year was so up and down with them sometimes. They would have those games where you'd have 4 straight games of grand slams and then it felt like 5 straight games of just nothing from them. This year, you didn't feel like that. This year, it felt like they were just on that constant trajectory, and you knew what you were going to get from the Milwaukee Brewers, and part of that is because of Caleb Durbin. Jack, last up here, your comeback player of the year, somebody that maybe didn't play well last year, was injured last year, and came back and just balled out this year. Who would you give that to?
I don't think it's really an injury thing, but I think in a way you can argue that you don't agree with me. I think you can kind of give it to Andrew Vaughn. He had the yips. He did not look anything like himself with the Chicago White Sox. And you can go into, yeah, Jack, if you're playing for a 55 to 60 win team, you would probably want to take yourself out to the old shed like Old Yeller and end it. And I think to him, he kind of rejuvenated his season and our season. So I'm going to throw it to him. I know he wasn't injured, but
that's fair. You don't have to be injured. Like I said before, sometimes it's about just making a comeback as a player. And in his career, Andrew Vaughn, he revitalized who he was as a player. It really was phenomenal to watch him play. I would probably give it to Brandon Woodruff. And I think that's a pretty easy one. He came back halfway through the season, looked like Brandon Woodruff. That is not something I ever expected for a player like him to be able to go out there and at his age just look just as good as we saw from Brandon Woodruff before he got hurt, before the year and a half that he missed of just not playing baseball for this Milwaukee Brewers team. And he got hurt again before the playoffs. And I think that is something that was so huge for this team too. I think that was something that was so deflating for this team, is that you were hoping you could eventually get him back and he was just never ready to go for him. And that is so frustrating from a guy that could be so valuable to them. And you saw how valuable he could be throughout this team. One guy I want to give a dishonorable mention to, who I thought was going to maybe be like a comeback player of the year. It's just really frustrating, Jack, that Garrett Mitchell cannot stay healthy for this Milwaukee Brewers team, because before the season, I called him an all-star. I called him a guy that if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a 5-tool player and just be fit right into this Brewers lineup. And then he got hurt again, and now he's just missing. And like, Garrett Mitchell, man.
Tough.
Garrett
Sometimes
Mitchell.
You can't be 100,
what you could be, man.
I know you're the gentle giant alchemist on our Warlock Locks end of the show, and I think you're good at predicting things, but sometimes you can't get them
well,
all right.
And also, shout out my boy Vinny Capra, 100%, 10 toes down. Yeah. That's my guy, Vinny C, out in Chicago White Sox land, probably not for much longer. I love you. You should have been on this team longer than 2 weeks, even though you were like statistically one of the worst players in all of baseball for like 2 weeks. That was pretty bad, but you were awesome at the same time. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Jack teased it a little bit before, but when we come back, it'll be time for Warlocks Locks, where the man himself makes some tarot card picks, and we have some fun with your fantasy lineups that way. Again, it is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back. Oh, what is that? Something scary? Something mystical? Something magical? I think it's time for the Warlocks Locks on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I am Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there, and we are powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we also presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on the historic Brady Street. If you guys are brand new to Wisconsin Sports Weekend and Warlocks Locks, do not worry. I will explain it to you right here. So Jack, the Wisconsin Warlock over there, has his cauldron, his cheese head, which is filled full of magical football cards. On those magical football cards, there is a player, obviously, that Jack will pull out, and he will give you a fantasy prediction for that player this week, whether it's Prize Picks, whether it's your regular fantasy football league. If you have a question about any players, the Warlock can help you out that way as well. Even though Nick doesn't seem to be very kind to you over here. I think he's trash talking a little bit.
Nick forgot I dropped 155 points last week, and he's also remembering that he traded Tet McMillan for Matt Golden for me, and it hasn't been an equal trade.
Yeah, I don't think that's a very fair kind of trade-off in my opinion, but that's fine. That's fine.
He loves Matt Golden.
So if you would like to get in on Warlocks Locks over here, you can hit us up on WI Sports Radio on YouTube or on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250, to get in on Warlocks Locks. Jack, let's make your first selection out of the cauldron there on YouTube and let us know your prediction for
I can't. I'm not allowed to look.
All right. Ooh, little ambiance there too.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Who
That's
we
an
got
easy
there?
one.
Is that Christian
Yep,
McCaffrey?
that's C-Mac.
All right, let's head over to San Francisco. This week they are taking on Atlanta. Should be a pretty good game for Christian McCaffrey, like you mentioned before. There is no Brock Purdy. Mac Jones will be starting, and no Ricky Pearsall in this game. So once again, they are pretty depleted at the wide receiver position. Jack, what are your expectations for Christian McCaffrey going up against A, not a very strong run defense, and B, being really the only star player left in that group?
Okay, you know this. As the Wisconsin Warlock, we do this off the top of the dome. We do it from the gut because that's where the magic happens. I'm thinking he gets 18 attempts rushing.
All right.
Let's say 78 yards over
All right.
rushing. And he'll get, I think we see a receiving touchdown instead of a rushing touchdown for C-Mac. So that's somewhere we're looking around. He's probably going to give you 23 points in a PPR league.
So just in case you guys were wondering, the Atlanta Falcons are one of the best rushing teams in all of football. Bijan Robinson has been a stud so far this season. While they are averaging 4.8 rushing yards per attempt, which is pretty good for an entire team. So that's not just Bijan, but that's everybody else included in that as well. They are also giving up 4.8 rushing yards on the defensive side of things and give up an average of 114 rushing yards, only 2 touchdowns though. So, you can see a dip there. On the counter side of things there, Jack, with Bijan Robinson, what are some expectations for him?
Okay, we love Bijan at this show. He's a friend of the show. I just think him and Drake London are the choo-choo that makes everything move on that team. And, if you're smart like me, unlike Nick in our league, I drafted Drake London in the second round. And it's starting to come to fruition. Drake's looking mighty fine in this league. But I think Drake London's going to fill up the stat sheets. I think Bijan Robinson is basically going to bookend whatever Drake does. They can beat you in the air. They can beat you on the ground, and Bijan can catch for you. If you're in a PPR league, he's putting up 20 plus. If you're in a half PPR league, he's probably putting up close to 18.
All right, Jack, what do you got second in Warlocks Locks here?
Okay. Close the eyes. Feel the tarot cards. You shall not pass. Ooh, you shall pass.
Ooh,
Jordan Love
taking on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona, like we mentioned before. Jack, what's your prediction for Mr.
Okay,
Love?
let's go through this quick. Do we have love for Jordan Love? I think we do. You got to have love for Jordan Love. I'm thinking, yeah. Let's go 250 plus passing.
Okay, I like that.
2 passing touchdowns.
Okay.
and over 10 yards rushing. Remember the last time we did this, we went 3 for 3 and we could have made a lot of money. Who knows? Maybe I'll fill out a prize picks today for 10 or 15 bucks and I'll split the winnings with you because you are, as always, the gentle giant alchemist.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So if you're playing in a league and, you have had Jordan Love as your
That's
first.
Our guy Joe Bartel called him a fringe QB1.
Yeah.
On Wisconsin Sports. Is that where you'd put him to?
I think you start him this week. He's a must start if you have him and you have a question between, do I start this guy or this other quarterback? He's going to give you over 250 yards passing. That's great. And he's on the low end, probably ceiling, like a low floor is 2 passing touchdowns, ceiling maybe 3.
All right, sounds good. Jack, third up in Warlock's Locks here. Got 2 more here on Warlock's Locks. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios.
I'm so not happy with this. Alvin Kamara.
All right. Alvin Kamara, the New Orleans Saints taking on the Chicago Bears. Is going to be a tough game for the New Orleans Saints. The Bears have looked better than expected throughout the season. Alvin Kamara is a guy that's committed to the Saints, he said, though.
I've got him on some of my other fantasy leagues, and we're doing well. We don't really need him. We've got like Bill and some other guys and Cam Scatterboo, but I think he's got to bounce back this week, right?
Bears run defense is not one of the better ones in the league.
And he's got to get some touches in the flat and those kind of 5 to 10 yard little drop passes. Let's look at the crystal ball here. I think Alvin, what are you doing for us, Alvin? I'm thinking 13 rush attempts.
Okay.
Over 2 catches.
All right.
57 rushing yards.
All right.
And maybe a garbage touchdown.
All right. I think that's a fair guess for a guy like
you're looking half PPR 13 points and PPR 15 maybe.
I think this is a game where they're going to rely really heavily on a guy like Alvin Kamara in order to try to open up a Chris Olave.
Yeah.
Open down the field. This is something where Olave spent the majority of the season so far as one of the highest targeted wide receivers in all of the NFL. Too bad Spencer Rattler, who in his defense is actually having a pretty good season.
You were saying.
Better than I ever expected from a guy like Spencer Rattler. He's having a really just good season for that caliber of a quarterback. He's trying. And I think going to a guy like Alvin Kamara in a situation in the passing game can be really beneficial to the New Orleans Saints, especially against a team like the Chicago Bears, who just are not one of the better defenses in the league, at least in the first half of games, which is where you really need to get at the Chicago Bears. All right, Jack, last up here on Warlock's Locks.
But not least. You got to hear the cards right.
All right.
George Kittle.
All right, George Kittle heading back to the San Francisco 49ers here. We got 2 Niners in this one for you here, Jack, against the Atlanta Falcons. If we take a look at George Kittle's season so far for San Francisco, again, it's been one where I think they spent so much time with guys hurt, guys in and out of that lineup. He's only played the 1 game, 4 catches for 25 yards and a touchdown. For a guy like George Kittle, what are your expectations? Oh, he's on the IR, Jack. You missed somebody in the lineup. I was gonna say
no. He was projected to score. Well, but then we will not pick him up.
Throw him away.
Yeah,
get him out of there.
Well, if he plays in the next couple weeks, he is a start.
All right.
Okay. He's on the Rams, not
Yes,
the Jets.
He is for sure playing. I know that.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua is out this week.
Wow, that's an easy one. That was a good pick by the Warlock's Locks. I have him in my half PPR league, and I have a bevy of wide receivers, but I always start him. I just think now, even so, with Puka out, you just gain all those targets. He's probably looking at 15 targets in this game. So if he catches 8, you're looking at 8 targets for 67 plus yards and probably 1 or 2 touchdowns. I think he could get 2 touchdowns for them this week.
The Rams against the Ravens last week, it wasn't really Devontae Adams who picked up the slack when Puka Nacua went out. It was Tyler Higbee in that situation. Do you think that's something more just kind of Matthew Stafford going in kind of the pace of the game, going to a guy that's more of a safety net? And now this week with Sean McVay having more time to plan an offense around Devontae Adams, that he'll get those touches again?
A little bit of that, and that game was sloppy that we saw last week, where it was just a grind out. do what you got to do to win. And they're taking away Devontae from him. And it's not like Tutu Atwell. He missed Tutu Atwell on some deep routes. But Tyler Higbee is healthy again and been a very consistently good tight end in this league. And people kind of forgot about him. And maybe he vultured a touchdown in the red zone from Devontae last week.
For sure. All right. That will do it for the Warlocks Locks this week. If you need a recap on that one, first up, Christian McCaffrey was picked there. He's on a pretty depleted offense for the San Francisco 49ers this week. So it should be really interesting to see what he can do against a run defense like the Atlanta Falcons, who is not very successful. Next, we have Jordan Love for your Green Bay Packers. Jack's predicting a great week from Jordan Love, 250, 2 touchdowns at least. Should be a good one against an Arizona Cardinals defense who we've mentioned before seems to be in a little bit of disarray there out in Arizona.
So just to reiterate to the people, George Kittle has been will be activated for this game. So we'll honorable mention, if he is really playing, you're probably needing to start him if you have him on your team.
Got 5 picks from
we got an extra magical pick.
There you go. Love to see it. So then Alvin Kamara was next up in that group. He's going up against the Bears. Jack is not predicting as great of a week from a guy like Alvin Kamara. Fewer carries in a game where the Saints may have to catch back up through the pass. Then you had George Kittle, who we thought may be out, might not be out. He's been kind of questionable all week. I know that was something he was on the IR.
They need him.
They need him this week, especially with Ricky Pearsall. And again, Mac Jones in at quarterback for Brock Purdy. And then last up, the bonus pick, Devontae Adams out there in LA with Puka Nacua out there playing in London against Jacksonville. Should be a game where he can step up for that team. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, it'll be time to pub crawl here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend. We will be right back. as much as I like that song, it's time for something else, Mr. Pembroke. It is time for the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl, live here from Wisconsin Sports Weekend on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there. If you are brand new to the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl, do not worry. I'll explain it to you real quick. It is the last segment of our beautiful show here on Saturday mornings, where we just run through anything that's happening in the sports world that you may have missed this week. Anything that may be happening in foreign sports. Maybe something that's happening in niche sports. Maybe it's not sports at all, because Jack loves me some science, and I love me some science
Sports
as well.
Science.
Exactly. So we go back and forth, share some of our favorite topics till we run out of time a little bit here at the end. But we got plenty of time today, so I'm going to start us off strong here on the Pub Crawl. The first thing we are going to talk about is heading over to the NBA, where LeBron James duped a lot of people a couple weeks ago with his second decision post that he put out there. A lot of people thought it would maybe be LeBron announcing his retirement. Maybe LeBron was announcing he's going to play a few more years.
I was not duped, Charlie.
I was not duped either. Right when I saw it, I said, that's an ad for something.
Yeah,
he did this or something like this last year for Amazon Prime. It's probably going to be the same thing. Prime Days that day. It was a Tuesday afternoon, like Tuesday at noon that he was releasing it. So it was like, that's a weird time to be doing this. None of it made sense. And then it comes out, and it is a Hennessy ad. Something for a special edition brand Hennessy for
the
LeBron
official
James.
NBA drink.
Wow.
Whoa.
Very cool. Well, one fan was not very happy with LeBron James, because when he saw that a second decision was being made, he went out there and bought a game for LeBron, or a ticket for LeBron James's potential final game this upcoming season in LA, which cost the fan $865.66. The fan is not asking for a signed jersey. He's not asking for a basketball. He's not even asking for any more money. He's asking for exactly $865.66 from LeBron to get his money back for the ticket, because it's not LeBron's final game. Jack, would you do the same thing? Do you think this guy's crazy for going out and first of all, buying the ticket in the first place, and then second of all, for trying to sue LeBron to get the money back?
I think at the end of the day, so I'm the spawn of two attorneys. I think what they would suffice to say to me, and the advice they would give from counsel would be, you're dumb. You jumped to pay it something. This man doesn't know you. Maybe that you can sue the Lakers for $865, but if you were that gullible to believe this man was announcing he was retiring at Tuesday at noon, that would be a primetime event at night. that would be a night event, like 8 Central.
Right. Exactly, on a Friday. Yeah. Something where people could see it more, because that's what LeBron James wants, is for people to see it. Jack, what do you got up first on your side of the pub crawl over there?
We kind of talked a little bit about it, but I think it deserves a little bit more. Joe Flacco wins the Geriatric Bowl. And if you don't know what that means, it means
I think
old.
They were calling it the Unk Bowl.
Yeah, no, it's the Geriatric Bowl. It's two old, look like two old guys from the Crypt Keeper fighting each other. But it was exciting. And, I jest and I joke, but Joe Flacco is actually one of my heroes. This guy can keep doing it. People have slept on his ability. I think we've got to give him his roses early this week, because he's kind of turned around how the Cincinnati Bengals feel as an organization, of like, hey, maybe we can get some wins in before Joe comes back.
That's Mike Tomlin last week before they played. I think it was Monday, in his press conference, basically called the Browns on and said, Andrew Berry must be a genius or something that I'm not, because why would you trade a quarterback who's capable enough to be your starting quarterback when the season started? Is still a very capable quarterback, a quarterback that guys like Mike Tomlin have known for a very long time. Why would you trade him to a division rival who's struggling at the quarterback position right now? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And he saw it come to life on Thursday Night Football, where he can still play ball. And the Browns are just a trash franchise who just are just trying to help other people win at this point.
It shows me two things. There's hope for us yet, Charlie. We could find something we're really good at in our 40s. Right. And
Joe Flacco was good at football.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yes, he was pretty good. Kind of good.
I think maybe we could be the GM of the Browns.
I was just about to say, you and I are probably more intelligent than the GM of the Browns.
All right, next up on my pub crawl here, we've talked a lot about the Milwaukee Brewers in the NLCS. Let's head over to the ALCS. I'll give you guys an update on what's happening over there. Now that the Dodgers are in the World Series, you may not want to know what's happening with the other side of things and who they're going to be playing. Well, that series is a lot more entertaining than anything we saw in the Brewers versus Dodgers. It's the Seattle Mariners going up against the Toronto Blue Jays. In Game 1, the Mariners won 3-1, so it seemed like it was going to be another case of this season or this postseason where it's been a kind of a slower one. You've seen a lot more pitching duels. Well, Game 2 just stopped that because the Mariners won 10-3 over the Blue Jays. They were up 2-0 in this series. You thought the Blue Jays were dead in the water. They weren't going to be able to come back in this one. Well, okay, they came back in Game 3 and won 13-4 in that game behind 18 hits, and then won 8-2 in Game 4 again to even up the series. Seattle won on Friday night last night 6-2 to take a 3-2 series lead. They're going to go on play Game 6. The series may go to Game 7. Should be a lot of fun. I'd be watching this one if you guys want to watch some good baseball. Should end up being a good World Series, whoever they play.
The Brewers were the Seattle Pilots before they came back here. So
I'm cheering for the Mariners,
we can say that, okay, now I really want the Seattle Mariners to
cheering
win.
for the Mariners. There you go. Jack, what do you got up next on the pub crawl?
So up next, we're going to do a little anytime touchdowns, and I'm going to do 2 different anytime touchdowns for you if you want to throw a little money down. Why not, right?
All right, let's hear it.
So I'm going to say Rome Odunze, anytime touchdown.
I like it.
And you parlay that with, or you add that with Bill Krosky-Merritt, anytime touchdown. Then we're going to go to a different parlay. We're going to say Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown.
Okay.
We're going to say Devontae Adams, anytime touchdown. And then a triple scoop, Tyler Warren, anytime touchdown.
All right, I like it. There you go. Win some money with our guy Jack over there, the Wisconsin Warlock. I like a lot of those. Roma Dunze has just been on fire so far.
Hot to trot, baby.
I mean, I am real happy with him. I'm happy him and Caleb got that connection because that's what we were promised when they drafted
him
for them in Chicago.
Who's my fantasy quarterback who's bringing my season back to life?
Caleb Williams,
hate to admit it.
Him and Rome, I have them together on my Dynasty fantasy team.
That's unfair.
They've been killer this season. Well, it's kind of fair because the rest of my team is
okay.
It's not good. Not doing good. I'm 500 in that league, so it's not as
we'll
bad.
Light a candle, you get to the playoffs in that league.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the hope right now. All right, next up on the pub crawl, I want to head over to some college football where the Indiana Hoosiers made the huge decision to pay their head coach Kirk Cignetti a 8-year, about $11.6 million per year contract. If you want to know, like, just kind of what that is comparative to, a guy like Luke Fickell right now is making about $7 million per year. So Cignetti is going to get paid about $4 million more. Some people think this is an awesome idea for Indiana. He's been able to bring them to relevancy in the matter of
fighting JMU Duke. He came from Virginia.
Right. Last season brings them Indiana to that playoff. This year, they're a top 3 team in college football, it looks like at this point. Jack, do you think it was a good decision to pay Cignetti this much?
At this point, you have to. Mm-hmm. He's bringing in the recruits, and he's shown that the offense works, and he's able. Look, what sold me where he made his money, he walked into Oregon, and he spanked those Ducks at home. And that, to me, I was watching someone, a relative of mine, and he said, "Oh, that must have been in Indiana." And I said, "No, they walked into one of the toughest stadiums to play, and they just branded it and said, yeah, thanks for hosting us. We're out."
And what's crazy and how you know it's such a good win too is because in games like that, I think a lot of times people just immediately jump to Oregon isn't good enough. They didn't do that this time. They said, "Oh, Indiana's for real."
Very good.
Like, Oregon's a good football team.
Oregon
Indiana's
was a hopeful for a top 4 position.
Well, they still are. Like, that's what's kind of
that's
crazy.
wild.
So I think right now what we're seeing from Indiana is just, again, like you're talking about, straight dominance. This is like, it feels like the start of a dynasty if they can get it going.
They're a football school now. They're not a basketball school anymore.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Jack, what do you got up next on the pub crawl here, my man?
So we've got a guy who I kind of like. NFL hopeful from Japan who learned how to kick from YouTube, is now at college at Hawaii. His name is Kicking It with Kansai, the Tokyo Toe. Love that nickname.
I saw this. He has been phenomenal so far this season for Hawaii. He's been like one of the best parts of that team. Because he's been so good, they're live streaming Hawaii games.
Oh, I'm sure Japan is loved. Do you imagine? So what our viewers in the state might not know, there are 10 cities in Japan that have 3 to 4 million more people than New York City.
That's pretty crazy.
Boom. So think of the viewership. So the Tokyo Toe, watch out for 26-year-old from Ichikawa, Japan, Kansai Matsuzawa. So learn how to speak English too off YouTube. So, hey, there's lots of ways to learn how to get better at sports. YouTube's one of them.
Awesome. All right. I love to hear that again. Watch some Hawaii football, man. See this guy. It's a crazy sports story.
Tokyo Toe.
All right. And last up here, can do two quick ones. We'll be fast. My last one, the Milwaukee Bucks decided to extend Derry Bird, AJ Green. They gave him a 4-year, $45 million contract, pretty equivalent to what they gave Pat Connaughton when he got that contract. Really exciting from the Milwaukee Bucks to see that they have that faith in a player like Derry Bird. Jack, what do you got a blast in the pub crawl?
Cristiano Ronaldo sets new scoring record after netting twice for Portugal. This man is older than God, but he still can do it. He's not just doing GQ commercials and selling you perfume. He's putting two in the back of the old onion sack.
All right. I love to hear it. That will do it for the Wisconsin Sports Weekend pub crawl, and will mean it is also time for Jack and I to hit the road. It is time for us to finish Wisconsin Sports Weekend here. Thank you so much for joining us on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network and from their studios powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And also, we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor right there on historic Brady Street. Again, go grab yourself a legendary Zeus burger. Thank you so much for joining us once again. If you'd like to get on the show next week, again, same time, same place, 9 to 11 a.m. right here on WSRN. And this has been Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there. Have a great rest of your day, folks. And as always, we love the Brewers. Not go Brewers. Sorry their season over, but we love the Brewers. Have a great rest of your day.